LFC Daytrippers, brought to you by bookmakers.com.
Good evening, welcome to Premier League Forecast. It's me, Chris Back. It's the world's biggest Wrexham fan, Luke, and it's Jack from the Talking Ballacks podcast. How are we all doing?
I'm just excited to be on here for what's probably going to be my last appearance for at least a year, so I'm all right.
I'm right until you keep on calling me the world's greatest, biggest Wrexham fan, which you know is not true.
Have you missed me? You had the 2 weeks of no me. Yeah, 1 year older, still not mature, so nothing's changed there really.
True.
Cool. Right, let's get into it then. So let's start at the top of the table. Let's do Arsenal versus Brighton. So Arsenal at the moment, 10th of the form guide for the last six games.
Shock.
Against Brighton, 11th of the form guides. So actually quite similar. Brighton, shock. Let's be honest. Shock loss to Everton. I'm sorry, Joe, you're not coming back on now. Them's the rules. You lose to Everton, you don't come back on. So, Jack, how you see this? Because Arsenal got the news today that Saliba and Zinchenko, they're done for the last 3 games of the season because of injuries, but they don't require surgery. And Brighton have been in with the shout of the Champions League most of the season, but I think that Everton loss has now not took it out of their hands, which is I'll be honest, it was quite a surprising result and very surprising performance.
Yeah, I thought so. I mean, I kind of didn't. I've only watched the highlights of the game because, for obvious reasons, I kind of tuned out of football on Monday by the end. But I thought Brighton confused me because against Man United, I thought yes, they got the win and it was in the last minute, but actually that was kind of an unfair reflection on the game because I thought against United, Brighton were absolutely fantastic and they should really have won the game earlier, but they seem to have a bit of an air of complacency about them because, and I don't mean this in a derogatory sense because I think Brighton have been absolutely outstanding all season, but I just felt that, I mean, you saw it after the semi-final that they went to Forest and lost 3-1 as well.
Yeah.
They just have a bit, maybe they've reached their ceiling. I don't know. Maybe they're just on the precipice, just outside of the top 6 / top 7.
Plateaued,
almost. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, like they've been one of the best teams to watch all season. There's no denying that. But this might be the game where they put in a performance again. I think it'll be, like you said off air, Chris, I think it's going to be one of the better, hopefully going to be one of the better games of the weekend. So we'll see which Brighton turns up because it could be the toilet version that played on Monday, or it could be the brilliant version that we've seen so many times this season.
Yeah, because I think earlier this season, I think Arsenal won 4-2.
4-2.
It's a bit of an end-to-end ding-dong game. So, and listen, Arsenal, look, I don't think they're going to win the title, but listen, they've stayed in the title race, to be fair, longer than a lot of us thought they would. But my theory of Arsenal always was, and this is kind of 13-14 Liverpool, was they were reliant on about a squad of 14, really, because it doesn't really use a squad outside of that, apart from the Europa League. And to be honest, you can get away with it in Europa League until knockout stages because you can get out of it in the fringe players. That'll be the challenge for Arsenal this year: is can you maintain a title challenge and do that in the Champions League? Because you can't be playing the squad in the Champions League. Look, we found that a lot of clubs have found that when they get used to the European bits. But I think with Arsenal, the home form wise is still pretty impressive. They don't lose many games at home at all. But I can't quite work out what this one. It feels like an Arsenal win just, but I think it might be one of those end-to-end ding-dong games. I think it's on TV as well, so it'd be able to sit back and enjoy. I think. What should be 0-0 now?
Yeah, well, you've got 2 very attacking teams, haven't you? I mean, like Arsenal aren't going to sit back in this game, and you'd hope neither are Brighton, and that's kind of where that's why they've been so good to watch this season, because in most of the games I've watched them, and I can't sit here and say I've watched them every week because I haven't, but most of the games I've watched them, they're open to playing really fast, open football, attacking football. They rarely change their style for anyone, and sometimes that comes to bite them on the backside, but a lot of the time it makes for a really, really compelling watch, and I think that's what we're going to get again this weekend.
Sadly, Luke and I have watched quite a bit of Brighton. Know them humping Liverpool quite a lot, to be honest. We always sit there going, "Yeah, they're much better than us, aren't they?" Yeah. So, but no, listen. Also, look, we can't deny it's the transfer year now, so people obviously do look at players you're linked with, and look, every time we keep getting linked with him. The more you see McAllister, the more you go, you can see why top 6 sides would look at him, because he's just a brilliant player. No matter where you play him, in a midfield holding 2, as a 10, box to box, as an 8. He can take a free kick, which I'll be honest, Liverpool haven't got a consistent free kick taker, so it'd be quite nice. And he knows how to ping a penalty, which is always handy.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I have been on McAllister watch. I watched him in against United. I thought he was superb. But I really want Caicedo at Liverpool. Like, he's the one that I think would suit Liverpool more, and I think the prices are pretty much similar, 70, 80 million.
I might be wrong, but my gut feeling is because Caicedo signed that new contract, and there was a bit of a gentleman's agreement, was you acted the bollocks in January, so you can stay one more year, and there's a clause for next summer to say you can go next summer. And I think they let McAllister go this summer.
McAllister, because I've got a feeling that
I think he's going this summer. I think they've had
the report. It's like McAllister. Soon as the season's done, he wants to move sorted out quickly. I think Brighton wants him out as soon as the season's done. They want his destination.
Well, if that's true, though, he's going about it the right way. Don't hear anything in the press and indirectly wanted to go. He's not refusing to play. He's not kick up a stink. He's just playing his normal game that he played pre-World Cup, and that's kind of all. As a fan, that's all you're going to ask, because look, no player stays forever. You just want them to get the red down while they're with you. So, what scores are you going for then? I'm going to go for 3-2 Arsenal.
Oh, you absolutely! You took my score. I was going to go 3-2 Arsenal. I'm going to go 3-2 Brighton. Title is going to be officially ended.
Okay. Jack?
I did this on my Super 6. I was just checking what I put. I went for 2-0 Arsenal. Yeah, I just thought it was going to be a good game, but I just think Arsenal are in. I think they're better chasers than they are when they're at the top. I think they kind of slipped up. I think they're better at chasing. So I think whilst they're in second, the pressure's kind of off them now. So I think they'll put in a decent performance. It'd be a good game, but I think Arsenal wedge it 2-0.
Yeah, Laszlo's got 3-1 Arsenal. Anton Schell's got 2-2. So everyone's expecting goals in this game. So
Dahoud looks like he's going to Brighton.
Who's that? Sorry.
Mohammed Jogee from Dortmund looks like he might be heading to Brighton on a free transfer by the looks of it.
Probably well, because God, do you remember when he was linked with us and everyone's heads fell off when we didn't sign him?
Yeah, well, good thing we didn't.
He was linked with us last summer, so don't think we'll be signing players of that caliber this year. But
I think that aren't Brighton also buying the Watford striker as well?
João Pedro.
João Pedro,
30 million apparently, which is a bit of a hefty jump of change, but
but I think
new 15.
Yeah, but I think they want a consistent goal scorer, don't they? I think he's starting to prove that with Watford, which I think is what they want, isn't it? Because Welbeck, as good as he's been for him, he has been really good for them. You can't rely on his fitness.
No,
his fitness is so bad. His fitness is so bad he should play with Liverpool. That's how bad it is.
Smacks a Richarlison for 50 million though, didn't it? When he went to Everton, like 30 million for a champion. He's a good player. He's a good player, but he's a good player. But 30 million for a championship player and he hasn't set the world like that much in the championship this season, because Watford are 11th, 10th, wherever they finished this year.
Watford though, sacking managers every 10 games. I think they've hired a new one, and
Valerian Ismail's gone in.
When he gets sacked in 7 games in, when they're
who's had more? Who's had more managers, Watford or Chelsea?
Watford, absolutely Watford.
Must be Watford. Chelsea got before behind. They've had so many interims. Gus Hiddings done the job 4 times. It feels like he has it. I'm surprised. I'm generally surprised Gus Hiddings didn't get the job over Frank Lampard. I was waiting for.
I can't believe Lampard got the job. I mean, it just seemed like when the rumor came out, I was like,
just like James Corden to go. Who shall I get? And he's gone. Frank, and he's gone. All right, cool.
First person on his speed dial, wasn't it?
damn,
No, that cannot be true.
11th
Yeah,
manager
that can't-
2019.
That's got to include like caretaker managers and stuff, hasn't it? Like
probably is like, but
Remember the season when Liverpool won the league? They had like Nigel Pearson, then they had someone else,
Great
someone
man.
else, someone else. They had
I'll
like
never-
4 in a season. Crazy.
I'll never hear any slander about Nigel Pearson. Never.
wasn't Nigel Pearson your manager who held the player on the throat by the throat because he tried
Yeah,
to
yeah.
let go of him?
Told a fan to F off and die. Called a reporter an ostrich, but he's one of the best managers we've ever had. So I'll never hear slander.
You'll get to see him next season with Bristol City. I'm sorry.
Now,
I'd have him back, mate. I'd have him back in a heartbeat.
I'm
Honestly.
so sorry. That's so much.
we want Jack to come back on.
I know. I'm sorry.
Hey, to be fair,
Still
it's
hanging
not,
for a hat to take it.
it's not Luke's fault. All right, I know we're not going to be in the Premier League next year. I ain't going to be on Premier League forecast next year, am I? Let's be honest.
Well,
That's
you can
not
be
gonna-
neutral. We can be
Oh,
for a
no.
neutral view.
Yeah, then I can just
Yeah.
throw slander at everyone, can't I? Then
Yeah.
just be bitter in the corner.
Just set you and you off at each other could be great. Can't say
Oh,
anything wrong with
mate.
that. We need to take you two on as a double act. I'm sure that'll be good fun.
Hey,
Sorry.
to be fair, not next week after we're playing each other, aren't we? So
Oh, if we
Hey,
might
I need you to step up. I need you
okay,
to step
we
up.
might need to book that in the diary then. To get you two on, and then me and Kev can just sit there with some popcorn, just sit back and relax. What was the one? I had a Brighton and a Palace final. Oh, that's also
That's not-
tasty.
I don't know how I feel about that as a derby, though. I mean, like the story always it changes.
Yeah,
But I know they don't like each other.
Oh,
They
it's they absolutely violent.
it's a weird one. It's a weird one.
Well, do you think Brighton Southampton would be like a bit of a rival, and they couldn't care less?
No.
They generally don't care about each other at all. But yeah, I think it's from the championship. I just think they've always had run-ins, so it's just
Something to do with their managers, I
qualities.
think, back in the day. I think.
I think so. Yeah.
Something to
So,
do with one of the managers going to one of the other clubs or something.
yeah.
I'm going to be fuming if Coventry get promoted via the playoffs. We haven't played them in like 10 years. I'll be. First of all, if we go down and Coventry and Forest are in the Premier League, I'll be fuming. But
I would love Luton to go up just so people have to go through people's back gardens to get to the stadium.
mate, that's
mad.
proper football. That is. That's what I want to see in the Premier
That's
League.
proper football heritage.
It's proper Barclays. That is, isn't it? It's proper Barclays.
I think they've got a new stadium. It's like 2 years away from being built. So
I went past it on the train on the way back because I was at my mate's in Bedford, and then we got the train from Bedford down to St Pancras, and on the way back you go past Kenilworth Road, and honestly the houses are like the same height as the stadium, like terrace houses. They're all about the same height as the stadium.
That's a great
It's
place
only
to
the
go.
floodlights that makes it stand out, but it's a good place to go. I went there a long time ago. I think it was probably in the noughties, in the 2000s with my dad. That's when we were really crap, and yeah, I went there. It was a decent stay. It's a decent day out, but it's just it doesn't scream television money, and but it doesn't scream Premier League. But
No, I quite like that. It's when Bournemouth got promoted, and you just like going, "This is just." Oh, when Blackpool went up, you just go, "This is just a mental. This shouldn't be." You don't think Premier League, but actually, I quite liked it. Someone different. So that's what I made up. When Brentford came, I was made up thinking, when's the last time you played Brentford?
this season, like
they got rid of
and Burnley come out. I was like, oh, come on, we've seen you here before.
Griffin Park was a proper ground. They had like a pub on each corner, didn't they? It was a proper ground.
Yeah.
Yes,
And they binned it off for the Lego Stadium.
G-Tech Community Stadium.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing Burnley next year, though. I never thought I'd say that because having seen bits of the Championship, it's not the Burnley Sean Dyche Burnley we all remember. This is
watching Burnley's first Championship game of the season. I was like, wow, completely different style of play. I think he signed a new deal with Vincent Company, so
he has, and he's kept Craig Bellamy on as well because Craig Bellamy seems to be his number 2 wherever he goes now. But those two seem to have a good rapport working together. Yeah. So that's his what to do.
Everyone calls this Burnley side one of the greatest Championship sides of all time. 1 point shy of Leicester's title winning team, but we never get a mention. That's all I'm going to say.
That's why they've got less points than the Reading side that went up.
Oh no, that Reading side was great. I remember that Reading side. That Reading side got promoted at the King Power, the Walkers at the time. They got promoted there, and genuinely that season they were a joy to watch. Honestly, they were a great side. When you look through their players, they had like Steve Sidwell, Marcus Hahnemann in goal. They had Dave Kitson up front. Bobby Convey, Shane Long, Kevin Doyle. For a Championship team, it was a great side.
Remember that? They stayed up for a few years, and then they had one of the weirdest relegations. So where they were like safe everywhere, they were safe, and literally that last game, I went, "Oh shit, Reading are at 1 point with the bottom. When did that happen?" And then you went, "They've got
So you
They're
want to
in-
get that club.
they're in
that
League-
looks
they're in
like
League
they're
One now.
safe, and then they just start sinking.
League One now, aren't they?
Yeah. Right, before we go on to the next game, because Luke forgot to remind me, we are sponsored by bookmakers.com. Thanks for the reminder, Luke. Head of sponsorship that you are.
Yeah, I'm getting stitched up already.
I know. So listen, no, bookmakers, they've been sponsoring us all season. So details in the description below. They help you find best odds. But if you do use it, bet responsibly. If betting's not for you, sound, it's not for you. But check out the website because it has lots of good stuff and statistics. Me and Luke have used it for our stats for prep for the shows. And Gav appears on their YouTube show once a week, where we just do previews of promotion, relegation, your best game. So it's always a bit of a different mix. And he normally does look like fans of a few other clubs, Spurs fans and things like that. So it's all pretty good. Right, let's move on to the next one then. Man United versus Wolves. So Liverpool by us on. What was it, 6 weeks ago, Luke? We were about 14 points behind Man United, 12, 14 points. It's mad that we're within a point of them because it doesn't feel like this Liverpool side's ever had a run of consistency. Although I have found something out about Liverpool, which has boggled my head. We'll go through that a bit later. But
6 wins in a row, that bobbles my head.
No, even bigger than that. It generally doesn't feel like that. So Man United, form guide-wise, the last 6 games, won 3, drawn 1, lost 2. And they played a Wolves side who have won 4, lost 2. Wolves are actually 5th in the form guide for the last 6 games. It's one of those teams that sort of sneaks up and you're going, oh, Wolves are actually doing better than we thought. In terms of injuries, United got a few out. No Martinez, no McTominay, no Heaton, no Van der Beek, and Rashford is a doubt, and Varane is touch and go whether he'll.
I think he's in the squad. I think he'll be in the squad, yeah. Which I think is a massive boost for United because means that Rafa Varane will go back into centre back, Luke Shaw will go back to left back. Because I know that they've been swapping out with Malacia, Delo at left back. So Rafa Varane being back is going to be a big boost for Manchester United, but I don't think he'll start at all because he's still coming back off that injury. So
okay.
Yeah.
Before we go into Man United, we've got a request from Laszlo. Wants to hear a story about Nigel Pearson fighting off wild dogs in Romania, which I do remember this being a story.
It's a true story. He used to go on walking holidays all the time. He's big, like always used to talk about it. Luke, have you grown a tail?
No, if I can.
That's his spare beard.
It's your feather duster.
Well today, so
that's shit.
Joking around.
All right. Anyway, sorry. He goes on like hiking holidays and stuff. Just what he's about. Like, and I remember him telling this story for the first time. And he was on just a hike on his own. Like all he had was like his like walking poles and whatever, and he was completely on his own. Wasn't with family or anything like that. And he said that he was like these wolves started like he could see these wolves sort of like circling him. And I think I don't know if it was in Romania, if it was in Austria, but it was somewhere in like a mountainous region. And he just said how like he backed himself against a tree and then like used his walking poles and like poked one of them in the eye and sort of climbed the tree to get away from them. And I was like, if that's not you, like Jurgen Klopp ain't got a story like that, has he? He's not fought off any like wild bears in like Germany in the Black Forest, but like it's just ridiculous. The bloke is incredible and eccentric and aggressive, and it's exactly what you want from a manager. I'm not being funny. Like you need a manager like that. Brendan Rodgers does a little clap and he's got chap lips, but he's not. He's not
back for next season.
He's got 15 formations over 10 minutes, which is always handy.
Yeah, well, yeah.
You do need them sometimes. No, Jurgen Klopp stories are just how pissed he gets on his holidays. That's pretty much all.
Which I rate as well. I rate that as well.
I still remember when I think one of the summers everyone's losing their heads over who Liverpool weren't signing, and all you saw was Jurgen Klopp with an umbrella hat on and a beer going. That was it. He went, I don't feel like he's worried yet.
Nope.
He seems quite relaxed over this whole situation. Anyway, back to Man United Wolves. How are you seeing this, Jack? Because let's be honest, Jack's the neutral here. Luke, we both aren't going to admit that we're not biased. So let's be fair.
Yeah. I mean, I'll take the fact that one of Wolves' 2 defeats was against us, so I'll take that with a bit of pride. But no, Lopetegui's kind of turned them around a little bit. He's made them a bit more solid, and he's managed to get a few of their more like technical players firing a little bit more. One of the better players against us was Cunha, and Neves is class as always. Like they've got some really, really good technical players, but as we proved, like they can still be got at. I think defensively, despite being more solid, some of their players are a bit questionable. Is it like Totti, one of the fullbacks?
Yeah.
When we played against, I thought he was really poor when we played against him, and Barnes got him on a yellow card within like the first 20 minutes, and then Harvey Barnes, being the frustrating man he is, didn't get at him as much as he should have done. And I think they are quite susceptible, particularly down the flanks. So if Rashford's on form and they can get at them in the wide areas, then United could have quite a successful day. But Wolves have got good players that can hurt you, and they can be very solid, very resolute. I had it down as 1-0 United. I had it as a very close game that I think United will edge because they are still very, very good at home. They have a very good home record this season. And like against Villa, I think that will just get them across the line. And I think the race for the top four, I think, will go to the last day personally. Because I can just see United's home form keeping them ticking over. If United get top four, they're going to limp over the line. They're not going to, like you guys are 6 wins in a row. You're flying at the moment. I think if United do it, they'll just limp over the line, really.
Yeah.
I mean, to put it into context, Luke, I had a look on the Premier League form guide. Since match day 17, which is Boxing Day, so since the World Cup, Wolves are 7th in the form guide. They've got 30 points. They've got 30 points from the last 19 games.
Jesus.
9 wins, 7 losses, 3 draws.
Wow.
Got a great goal difference. They've got like a Man City goal because I think they've got a couple of thumpings there. But that sort of shows what Lopetegui's done. Pretty much came in around Christmas, bang, 30 points. If they had someone like that from the beginning, Wolves would never be in this conversation. In around,
solid.
Yeah, it's like Villa, it's like what happened with Villa though. It's what happens when you take a risk and you go and hire a top manager.
Well,
and it's what Villa did, it's what Wolves did, and it's what we should have done about 6 months ago. But
we'll talk about Villa. Villa over the same period of 5th.
Yeah, no, exactly.
33 points.
Yeah. For next year.
But they only bought one player in January, didn't they? Alex Moreno. And he's doing this with the same squad that Gerrard had, plus one playerish. It shows
about Gerrard in charge of Villa.
It shows what a quality manager can do for a club, and just having that vision and that tactical nous. And no offense to because everybody here is going to slate me, but Gerrard's just Lampard.
He's a novice manager, so it's probably
it was a big job. It was a big job for him.
Yeah,
to go into. It was a big job.
Yeah, I mean, if he does go back to management, he's going to have to go down a division or go abroad and build it back up if he wants it. You might.
There is expectation at Villa, even though they've been poor in the last few years. They're still a massive club, traditionally fan base. There is expectation there. Their fans want them to be challenging for at least the top 7, top 6 for those Europa League spots. So there's expectation there. I just think Gerrard, it was a step too soon, really.
Yeah,
but he could come good, like you say. He's novice, and I think he's smart enough to go away and learn and get better because he had that hunger as a player, and he probably hasn't lost it.
Yeah, that's what I think. Right, Luke, what are you going for? I've gone for 1-1.
I've gone 1-1 too.
You got 1-1-2. That's an interesting score, mate.
That's five-a-side formation.
I think it will be a draw.
Because a few in the chat are saying I think Wolves I think Jack was talking about this earlier, is every big club needs to have a little bit of a bogey side. Quite a few interesting think that's what Wolves are to Man United.
Tice Nunes, I need a big performance. You want to come to Liverpool this summer and you see the show up against United? You want to be playing Champions League?
No thanks.
I know he's not going, but
no, I hope not. So anyway, a few question your score, Luke, but we'll come back.
Wolves are scoring 12 at Old Trafford. The Hay is chucking them in. Yeah, we can dream, but no, 1-1.
Right, let's do some quick fire ones. So just a score. Jack, Villa versus Spurs. I've gone 2-0 Villa.
I said 1-1 because I just think Spurs have got it in them, haven't they, to get a result from somewhere.
Normally a loss. Luke?
2-2.
2-2. Okay. Chelsea versus Forest, Luke?
2-1 Forest. Chelsea got nothing to play for. They're safe now.
Okay, I've got 2-1 Chelsea. Jack?
I had 2-0 Chelsea because Forest's away record is woeful.
It is woeful. Palace versus Bournemouth, which is 6th versus 4th in the form guide. Both sides off to play for, so I feel like this might be... I'll go for a 2-2 because I just feel like this might be quite a bit one of those games where both sides just let it go.
Is it at Palace?
It's at Palace, yes.
I'll go 2-1 Palace then because their form's good at the moment.
0-0.
Oh, boring.
Oh, this is the
I
new
know,
Roy.
I know. It
Come
looks,
on.
I know you can't believe it, but this is the new Roy. This is the new Roy.
I'm not
Kev O'Sullivan saying,
Roy.
Kev O'Sullivan, who binned off the show, must have his power back. Says we need Chelsea to win this. We probably do actually, because if Liverpool
Chelsea
we actually need Chelsea to have some form.
going to, where top four's going to. Yeah, but I just think that they're going to be
Chelsea was both sides of the table with their running.
Haven't Chelsea still got to play Newcastle? Chelsea got to play Newcastle, haven't they?
They've got to play Newcastle. They've got to play Man United as well.
Yeah,
and City at the Etihad. That's going to be.
You'd rather have Chelsea in some form playing those two, I guess, wouldn't you?
You would do. Southampton versus Fulham. Southampton, I think, are down, so I've gone 2-0 Fulham. I think Mitrovic is back for this as well.
I said 2-0 Fulham as well.
3-0 Fulham.
3-0 Fulham. Okay. Brentford against West Ham. West Ham getting a 2-1 win in the first leg of the Europa Conference semi-final. I'm going for a 2-1 Brentford because I think, rightfully so, West Ham will just be looking at next Thursday, and I don't blame them.
Yeah.
See, I've got. Sorry, Luke. Go on. You go first. Sorry, mate.
2-1 Brentford as well. I think they're going to rest all their key players for that.
See,
I think West Ham are going to get relegated. There's worse teams than them in the league, so
no, they're safe. They're well out of it now, mate. I think this one's got 0-0 written all over it because I think Brentford are on the beach now, and I think West Ham will rest players for the second leg. I think this one's got 0-0 written all over it.
Cool. Stick with you then. Everton versus Man City, who, as you were talking about, Jack, Everton are a little bit of a bogey start for Man City at Goodison. But, you know, City have also got this big game against Real Madrid. Good 1-1 draw. You know, played well. But I feel it'd be one of those ones where City just find a way and get a 2-1.
See, I put 2-0. I'm going off my Super 6. I put 2-0, but I'm thinking, there's something about this game that jumps out to me as like, in at both ends of the table, it's massive. I just could see an upset, but that's where I'll be wrong. So I'm going 2-0. I'm going 2-0.
Sorry, I can't see an upset.
No, but it's just
yeah.
It would directly affect both ends of the table. If Everton won, they're effectively safe, and it drags Arsenal right back into the title race. I mean, not that they're out of it, but I could. If there's any game where you see a massive upset this weekend, it's that one. But I think City will win.
Okay, Luke, what are you going for?
4-0 City.
Right. So.
It's going to be. We think it's going to be close, and then City's just going to flick the switch, get a few goals.
Yeah, but it was like that. It was like that last season. They won the game on a very dodgy penalty decision, didn't they? So,
well, really? where Rodri volleyballed it up the area.
No, he just swatted it away. Then he was like over his.
Yeah. Not that we're better about it or anything.
No, not at all.
Not at all. Cool. Right, before we go to our next game, just remember our charity for this season is breast cancer awareness. So we're trying to help 12 Dublin ladies do the Dublin Marathon. So links in the description below. So if you can give, please click a link and give. If you can't, because we know times are tough, just share what you can. Golf Days, still looking for prize for the golf day. So if you can donate for a prize, or you have a prize to donate, or you think you've got something that might be useful for donating, just email daytrippers@gmail.com and Gav will get back in touch with you and we can sort that out for you. Even if it's just you want to donate some money for a prize, Gav will sort the prize out and then send you the receipt so you can see what we've bought, so you know what prizes have been raffled off on the night. So I think it's July, Luke, or June. Gav did tell me they might go on the golf day. No, we're terrible out. We should have wrote that down, really. But that's the key thing for today anyway, is the charity golf day as well. Right. So let's talk to another game. Let's go to another game, which is key at both ends of the table. Leeds, who have the worst record in the league, I think, at the moment. In the last 6 games, they have won none, drawn 1, lost 5. So not grand. And in the last 19 games, they are also rock bottom with 11 points. So they are the worst form side going against Newcastle, who are currently third in the form guide, 4 wins, 2 losses.
Can't believe I need Leeds to pull something out there.
But this is the Leeds under Sam Allardyce. It's very different. It's going to be very different football. It's going to be turgid. So you never know. If it was the other guys in charge, you'd have just gone Newcastle win comfortably. But Early kickoff, you never quite know.
I think, especially because it's at Adam Road, 12:30. That place is going to be bouncing, and they need to pick up something, a win, a draw, anything to get some sort of momentum going. Because I think there's always that one team that looks like that they're sort of safe, and then they just sink. And Leeds have been sinking this season, and if they don't do anything to stop losing, then they are heading straight back down to the Championship, because they can't score enough goals and they are woeful defending. Woeful at defending. Melier's been really poor this season for them. Every single shot he's faced seems to be going completely through him. And Sam Allardyce made the big call and dropped him against City. Played Robles, former Everton keeper, which was probably the right call. But yeah, it looks like at this current rate, Leeds are heading straight back down to the Championship. And yeah, it's not looking good for Leeds and for Newcastle. How are they going to bounce back after losing to Arsenal at home, and sort of got played at their own games a little bit with the time wasting from Arsenal and the gamesmanship and everything that Newcastle have done to other teams this season? They seem to have it. They seem to have it back to them at St James's Park, which was quite funny to see Newcastle fans online getting upset about people time wasting when they are the biggest time wasters in the league this year.
What do I have to get used to? Because that's what happens when you
when
get into the European spot. This how everyone else treats you. You know, we have to get used to.
Wait till they get Europe next season, and Eddie Howe is moaning about the fixtures, playing on the Wednesday night in Europe, then playing 12:30 on a Saturday. I cannot wait for him to start making those comments, because people were very quick to criticize. Remember Ollie doing it, Klopp was doing it. I think Pep's done it this weekend, blamed Eurovision for changing the fixture schedule. So I cannot wait for Eddie Howe to be doing the same thing next season when he's moaning about fixtures. But hey ho.
I thought you were going to go full Captain Keegan then, mate.
Jack, I love it if we do.
I'd love it.
Jack, how are you seeing this game?
I mean, you keep saying facts, Chris, and I'll be honest, and they're just depressing me, because Leeds.
I just got to say what's there. I can't.
Leeds last 6 games, lost 5, probably conceded about 150 goals.
Yeah,
guess who the one draw was against?
Leicester.
How you didn't, and that was the most mental game I've ever seen, because you guys should have won it and then bantered with the best miss I've ever seen in my life from a yard out. It was the most mental game of football I've seen.
When you look out, Tielemans scored one of the best goals he scored, and he scored some worldies this season. He scored one of the best goals he scored all season, probably ever for us, and it gets ruled out because Samare's legs in an offside position. Like, it's just, it's when you look out. But no, like in terms of Leeds, my thing about Newcastle, and I'm going to your point, Luke, and Kev was on our show earlier in the week, and we both kind of agreed that the one thing about Newcastle this season is whenever they've had a setback, they've bounced back. Mm. So I think actually for Leeds, the fact that Arsenal beat Newcastle last week at St James's, and there was a lot of, am I allowed to swear? There was a lot of shithousery in the game. They're playing them at their own game.
Love it.
Like, you look at it, when who did they lose? When they lost 3-0 to Villa, right? And everyone thought, oh, this is the wobble. Newcastle were awful, and they were, not going to lie. And Ewan will allow me to say this. It's fine. We've already talked about it. They were awful against Villa. Oh, hang on. Sorry.
You still there?
Yeah. Sorry, my laptop locked for whatever reason. Sorry. They were awful against Villa, but the next game they were 5-0 up against Spurs in 20 minutes. Like, this Newcastle side responds to their setbacks. So I think for Leeds, that's where they might really struggle.
Survive the first 25 minutes.
Yeah. And that's the thing, that Leeds have got to go full Big Sam, and they've got to frustrate Newcastle, and they've got to be resilient and turgid and horrible, which they weren't against City. They set up with a 4-5-1, and they brought Adam Forshaw back into midfield, who, no disrespect, is no better than a Championship midfielder. They played Junior Firpo, who's not great as a left-sided centre-back. And on another day, let's be honest, before Leeds got back in the game, Haaland hit the bar, he hit the post, they missed a penalty. Robles made 2 good saves. It could have been 7-0 before Leeds got their goal back. So I think Newcastle win, and this isn't me just being nice to my co-host. I genuinely think that Newcastle bounce back because this is a team that can't defend, and Big Sam is all about defending. And when you've got players that aren't good enough to, like, it's like for us, Dean Smith's coming, he's more of a defensive coach, but our defense is crap. Leeds' defense is worse than ours, and you've got in a defensive coach. If you're just asking teams to attack you when you can't defend, especially a quality team like Newcastle, you're asking for trouble. You've got to play the dark arts, and you've got to really disrupt their rhythm to do it. And I can't see it. Not after 2 games. I think it's 2 really hard games that Big Sam's walked into.
My only thing with Newcastle is I think it's because they are so close to the finishing line for Champions League football. I don't know whether or not that the feeling of Liverpool just a couple of points behind, even though with the game in hand, or not they're going to feel the pressure that any sort of drop points this week just going to leave the door open ever so slightly. Like it could end up with the possibility if they lose and Liverpool win. And they could end up outside the top 4 by the time we're doing this again on Friday. They could be outside the top 4 again. So I don't know whether or not that's going to play on their mind, knowing that they are so close to getting Champions League football, whether or not the pressure is going to get to them a little bit.
I think it's United, that team that are having, in my mind, I think it's United that are the team that are having the wobble. Like, because I think Newcastle, you forget who's in this team. Like, this is a Newcastle team that under Steve Bruce, it's mostly the same players like that were in that team. Yes, there's been some quality additions, but it's mostly the same team that were in there, and they're flying. I mean, like, I think it's United who have the wobble personally, because you look at it, like they were 2-0 up against Spurs, who were soft, and they threw that away. They've had some really dodgy results the last couple of weeks. I think it's United who will be more worried about Liverpool chasing than Newcastle, because Newcastle are in a false position in the sense that nobody expects them to be there. So actually, if Newcastle finish 5th, yes, it would be really disappointing for them, a bit like when Leicester dropped out and finished 5th, but they're overachieving already with the squad that they've got.
I'd say that they're overachieving. That if you ask them this at the beginning of the season, would you take this 3rd place, a few games left, and snap your hands off? But I think as expectations change, they've been in the top 4 for most of the season. If you say that you're going to, the possibility of falling out with a couple of games to go, Newcastle fans are not going to be happy. That they have been pretty comfortable in 3rd spot for pretty much the whole season.
True.
So I don't think they'd be particularly happy if they dropped out, knowing that they've had a big gap, just like United to Liverpool. They've had probably a 15, 16-point gap to Liverpool, and the fact that this is even a race for top 4 shows that sort of they've lost the eye on the ball a little bit to the finishing line.
Yeah,
it's also I mean, the last time Newcastle were anywhere near Champions League football was it early 2000s?
Yes.
Yeah, it's 2003 or 2004, because they played at Barcelona one of those seasons, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a lot. It's a long time since you get used to that. I suppose for you guys, if they missed out, I think it's still a big if. It's how they bounce back from it next year, and the difference is they have got the investment to throw a lot into that squad and beef it out more. You know what I mean? Yeah. So we'll have to see. I've gone for a hopeful 1-1. I'll blame the cards on the tail. I'll go for a hopeful 1-1. But I think the Man United draw is more like than a Newcastle one, because Jack is right. Newcastle do tend to bounce back after setbacks, but it's fun. It's always funny, and I actually hate playing relegation sides this side of the season because it's actually the worst time to play them.
You won't on Monday. You won't on Monday. It'll be a joy for you all to watch on Monday.
It'll be like this time of the season. You said like you're going to play Palace now. You'd be going, oh great, yeah, because Palace don't care. You'll have to sat in the middle. Don't worry about it.
You'll have to rename Mo Salah to Moses Salah as our defense parts like the Red Sea. Honestly, honestly.
I don't think we need to. We just use your centre back to. We'll come to our game. We'll come to our game now.
Yes, if he's starting, we just fling the ball in.
He was your top scorer this year for about 2 months, wasn't he? At one point.
He was.
It was. He'd scored more goals at Anfield than Liverpool.
Yeah, I know.
It was. I mean, his first goal was a cracking finish.
Oh,
it was an absolute stunner.
Beautiful.
And Darwin was still trying to nick it and missed it. That was the funniest bit about it. They tried to miss it. Yeah. So what score? You said what score have you on for this, Jack? Sorry.
So I think it depends on the first 20 minutes. If Newcastle score first, it's a 3 or 4. I'm going to go 3-0.
No problem. Luke,
I'm going to go. I'm going to go up to. No, I'm going to go 3-1 Newcastle.
Yeah. I think my heart is that.
This is not the result for Newcastle to drop points, unfortunately.
No, I mean Newcastle got Brighton the following week. I think that's probably
that's the one I'm hoping for, that they drop points, because they've got a much superior goal difference to us or United. So that's like an extra point.
Right. So let's start then for Leicester versus Liverpool. Sorry, Jack, you're going to hate this.
Do we have to?
Well, we have
to?
We have to be consistent here. So Leicester, the last six games at home, 1-1, draw 1, lost 4. In the last 6 games overall, 1-1, drawn 2, lost 3. Liverpool have won the last 6, which is nice for a change, Luke.
I know.
And our last 6 away games, we've won 2, drawn 2, lost 2. So
still patchy away form.
Yeah, which has been the story of Liverpool season, is the away form. Now, to give Jack some hope and to be balanced, last time we played a side with that sort of home form was Bournemouth.
And we lost.
Bournemouth, we lost 1-0. And it's become a bit of a consistent theme. But here's one for you, Luke. Since Christmas, so game day 17 up to last week, where do you think Liverpool are in the form guide?
I'm going to go second.
Third.
Which
absolutely blew my mind. So in the last 19 games, we have won 11, drawn 3, lost 5. Only Arsenal and City have better results than us. Now, admittedly, United are 4th, but they've only played 18 games. They've got a game in hand. So if they win that, we'd go 4th. But it doesn't feel like we've been that. I can honestly say, but sometimes perception's not always what you think it is. But yeah, it threw my mind when I saw that, because I felt we were much worse off than that. I think it's probably the last 2-3 months that helped us, because the January was horrendous.
Yeah.
So
the less we speak about January, the better.
So in terms of injury-wise, Liverpool have got no Thiago, no Ramsey, no Bajcetic. Keita's still out. Bobby sadly is still out. I think it sounds like he hopefully might be in the squad for Villa, which fingers crossed, because it'd be nice for him to get a send-off in the last home game of the season. Rather than, I don't want to have a send-off like Origi had, where unfortunately last home game he was injured, so he didn't get on the pitch. And you kind of want them to get the moment, don't you? And in terms for Leicester, for the big one's Iheanacho, isn't it? That was probably the bigger loss than drawn with Leeds, was him picking up the injury. I think he pulls his groin, still sets the goal up, and then went, that's definitely gone.
Yeah.
I'm assuming is that a season job, or is there still a chance he might get back?
So there's talk today that he might be back for Newcastle next week.
Okay.
But how true that is, because we've got a appalling record with injuries and rushing players back over the last 2 years. So if that's going to be one of those jobs, either way, if he isn't back by the end of the season, it's the last time we'll see him in a Leicester shirt. Was that really brave moment from him at Leeds to keep going and get the it was a pass to assist. But yeah, I'm if he comes back, brilliant, because we need him. But I think I think he's probably going to be out to the end of the season personally. I just think they're trying to give people hope in the press conferences, really.
Okay. So in terms of a side then, for you guys, it's Everton in goal. I didn't know where you got him from, because
he's been with us for years. To be fair, he's not homegrown. He's Danish. I think he's Danish number 2 now behind Schmeichel. And he's been with us for years. He's always been really highly rated.
Championship.
Oh, there's like when Preston sent him back to us, they were heartbroken about it. Like, he's a really, really good shot stopper. I mean, he showed that against Everton. Like, he was phenomenal that day. But yeah, just young player, up and coming. Didn't come through the academy, but was in our like under 23 setup and stuff. But yeah, just if we go down to the Championship, then you know,
perfect number one.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, it'd be brilliant next year. But I think if we stay up by some miracle, I just think long term maybe he's the answer, but I think short term we'd probably need to sign someone else if we stay up.
As Jake pointed out, we've actually lost our last 2 at Leicester. I think in the last 6 games away at Leicester, we've won 3, lost 3. Leicester away is one of those grounds for us where we have struggled. We have struggled in the past, and unfortunately, Mr. Vardy has scored a lot of goals against. I think he's got 10 in 16 against Liverpool.
One of the most iconic goals I've ever seen with my own eyes. The one in the title winning season. That's genuine.
Yeah, but we can counteract that. It was Mignolet goal.
It was.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
I
mean, to be fair, you say that. I did see Rashid Ghazal score past Alisson when he tried to Cruyff turn Ian Atcher.
Oh yeah, that was like his first like, major error. And we were like, oh my!
Because everyone was being like, "How good's out?" Because this is, I think it was when you just signed him, and everyone was being like, "Oh, he's immense, incredible keeper." And I was watching it going, "Hang on, who's this guy?" I was like, "Has Mignolet just dyed his hair again? Is that what's happening?"
It's always a way to
Karius done it or whatever. But,
yeah, unfortunately, when you take those risks, you always get caught up into it. Yeah, I remember that. So in terms of Everton goal, I'm assuming it's the back for Soyuncu. Is it Faze? I was Christina Thomas, I'm assuming.
No, honestly, I don't know. I feel like he might go to a 3 at the back after Sunday because he might bring Suter back. I don't know what he's going to do because if he plays the same 11 that he did on Monday, then
cooked.
Oh, absolutely.
What 11 would you like him to play, and what do you think he'll play?
I think he needs to change it. I mean, that midfield is any team against that midfield is like a hot knife through butter. Like Samari and Tielemans, like technically good players, but as soon as we lose the ball, it's like having 2 middle-aged men in there who can't run 5 yards without getting out of breath. It's ridiculous. Like out of possession, they're shocking. I'd like him to play 3 at the back because that I'd like him to probably go Suter in the central role, Soyuncu and Fass either side of him, Castagna and Christiansen playing as wing backs because they're better as wing backs because they are quite good at advancing forward. Midfield 2 for me would be Tielemans, Mendy, and then Maddison in front of them, Tete one side, Barnes the other, and if he's fit, Ian Atcho down the middle. Vardy to come on later on in the game, maybe about half hour to go, if depending on how things go. Maybe up front as well. I don't know, or maybe play 2 up front. I don't know. But genuinely, I have no idea what team he'll play because I maintain, and I'm not going to rant because I know we've got a schedule to keep to, but I maintain that most of those players he played on Monday, in my opinion, should never wear the shirt again because they're an embarrassment and all they're bothered about is their next move. But Harvey Barnes, who's a local lad, he's from Counterstorp. He did an interview with Sky, and I've got the quote here, and you two can, and people in the chat as well, feel free to interpret this how you want. Okay, I'm going to read this quote to you. He says, "I would be devastated if we went down. All the lads who are out of contract at the end of the season, or whatever their situation, none of them want to leave this club in a worse position. That is not how anyone wants to leave. Nobody wants to leave on a bad note." So what you've done there, Harvey, is told me that half the team wants out. Like they're all talking about leaving. No one's saying, "Oh, we're going to fight to keep them up." They're going, "Oh, we're going to leave anyway, but we want you to."
Rather that we left than the club's not relegated.
Yeah, which is like we're going to leave anyway, whether we stay up or go down. That's literally just, and it's like Maddison losing his head again on Monday when he came out in an interview and said we weren't hungry enough, and then afterwards he was like, "Oh, it's been taken." It's like it's been taken out of context. It's like, no, it hasn't. You watched the 90 minutes. You've seen how little hunger and desire you have. But yeah, it's embarrassing.
It's like the Andy Robson we've had most season, which is just isn't good enough. It's not to the standards we expect of ourselves. Yeah, I get that, Andy, but it's the 4th time you said that sentence.
Yeah. Hang on. Sorry. So Kevin Ball in the chat. Don't be tricked. Highlight reels don't tell you everything. All right. He is not a good player. He's a bottom half Premier League player at best. He has good seasons and he can finish, but he is a bottom half Premier League player. I promise you. He has the potential to be very good, but his attitude stinks. His attitude is really, really poor at the moment. And no, I wouldn't.
Who would you want to come in though?
If I could choose anyone, Kieran McKenna.
Okay.
If I could choose anyone, Kieran McKenna, because he's young, hungry, up and coming, and he's managed to get an Ipswich side that seem to be just wallowing in League One year after year, flying, won the title, well, gotten promoted at a canter, really.
A striker coach as well, which is crazy.
Dewsbury Hall, similar to Barnes, I think at the moment he's a lower half Premier League player. He's very, very, he's got a lot of energy. He's the sort of player that Klopp would love if he could play a bit as well. Like he's very one-footed. He's very wasteful in possession.
He's very left-footed.
Yes, yeah.
But
But in the Championship, a lot of people are saying if we go down with him, he's future captain material because he's another lad. He's from Shepshed, which is just up the road from Leicester. Like he's a local lad. He's been in the academy since he was 7 years old. But if he could play, if he had technical ability, then he'd be perfect for Liverpool with his energy and his pressing. But he's just not good enough for you, unfortunately. As much as Klopp would make him a better player, I'm no denying of that at all. But yeah, he's not good enough for a top six side. Nowhere near.
Yeah. So, Luke, in terms of Liverpool, then, how about this? I'll give you a starting 11. You tell me how much of it you think will change. So, back five, I don't think changed. I think it'll be Alisson, Trent, Canate, Van Dijk, Robbo after he had his break. Midfield-wise, I think Henson comes back in because he's had his break. Yep. Fabinho, I don't see Curtis Jones being dropped because he's on the best form. I've seen him in a Liverpool shirt and he's done 7 games in a row and he doesn't really deserve to be dropped.
He doesn't warrant to be taken out of the team.
And I don't see us going 4-2-4 away from home. Just doesn't feel right. And then up front, I think it's Salah, Gakpo. And I think for the other side, I think it's a toss-up between Jota and Diaz.
Agreed. It's not broke.
I think he'll go with Diaz. Only because Jota, I don't know where Jota is with this back injury. Back/cracked rib he's got, where he doesn't seem to be training, he just seems to be playing, which normally means, because I think that's the only reason Diaz has started the last couple of games is to protect Jota. And Nunes, look, he'll probably go for his next year. He's just out of form. It's very simple. There's nothing big, nothing clever about people making it formations. I just think he's out of form because up until probably about January, he was fine. He's got to finish the season on 15 goals, all comps. It's fine. It's fine for your first season. Second season is normally you see when players kick on. And that's the way. That's the ultimate test for him.
Kick on, because if he has the same season, then maybe he's just not that player. But hopefully he does take those leaps like he did at Benfica, or else he'll probably be shipped out maybe if he doesn't kick on, because I can't imagine us paying £64 million for him to sit on the bench and be Origi. If that was the case, we'd have kept Origi.
Well, I don't think we will, because Origi could stay fit.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like anything. I always think you give him 2 seasons, and I think by second season you know where a player is. But also, if he ends up just being a really good impact player off the bench, I think, you don't pay 60 million for an impact player, but quite a lot of clubs do pay 60 million for an impact player. So it is what it is. I also think he's a horses for courses. I think he'd be a very good flat track bully next year. But maybe when you're playing United, City, Tottenham, you go with Gakpo.
He's good against Tottenham away, I remember. He's good playing off
Yeah, because his pace always hurt teams. So are you happy with that 11, or would you change anything up?
It's our strongest 11 out there, so I wouldn't change it. It's been working, so don't change it. That's all.
Cool. Jack, from your perspective then, where do you think you could hurt that 11? Or
I think we've got quality going forward. I mean, I'm not going to take away from that. Like whatever I think about the players' attitudes and where their heads are at, like they're good players still. I'm not criticizing their ability, and I never would, because you can't. Like we were awful on Monday, and we still managed to score 3 against Fulham. But then it's easier to play when you're 4-0 down and 5-1 down. I think really it's about getting Maddison into the game. It's about hitting you early, getting you on the turn, because you will have a lot of the ball. You will have a lot of the ball in our half. I've got no doubts about that whatsoever. So what we've got to do is we've got to get the ball, and when we get the ball, we've got to use it right and get you turning. Try and get in behind if we can, and try and actually use the quality of Tete and Barnes if they have good games or bad games, or whoever plays. I think if we get those players firing, we can hurt you. But the problem is, will our defence hold out enough to get us some time on the ball to do that? I think I think if you're smart, you don't play a high line. I think you try and keep the line a little bit deeper because that is where will hurt you the most. Because Van Dijk, still quality, but he has lost that pace that he had. Like he used to look like he was jogging whilst everyone else was sprinting, whereas now you can tell that players running at him is starting to be a bit more of a worry for him. Because who was it in the Spurs game that left him on his backside? Was it Perisic or who was it?
Yeah, he slipped with Perisic, isn't he? I do want something with Van Dijk is there was a long time where just nobody ran at him. Generally, everyone don't bother.
But
they were the other side. So
that's because they knew they couldn't get past him. Like he would literally be looking like he's jogging, whilst the player next to him is sprinting like as fast as they can, and he'd just move his body and be in the right place. People couldn't get past him. Whereas now, I don't know if it's a mental fragility post-injury because his form's dropped a little bit, or whether he's just not the same player. Like he's still obviously a fantastic defender, but he's not. He almost looked like he almost had this aura around him before his injury, where it just like players would deflect off this aura because it was this arrogance and this confidence that he had, where he was like, "I'm currently the best defender in the world," and the way he played like that. Whereas now I don't think players are as afraid of him because they kind of watch the highlight reels of his sort of flaws in his game at the moment, and people aren't afraid to run at him. Like Mbeumo, I know the goal got disallowed, but he left him in his wake, didn't he? Like the offside goal. I know it was offside in here, but Van Dijk, by the time the goal went in, was nowhere to be seen, was he? And that pre-injury just wouldn't have happened, would it? So
no, that is a concern. I mean, I do wonder with our back four as well. The big issue is, and it's the three in the middle, is I think our back four have to do a lot more defending than they should do. I think they're not protected enough. They're exposed a bit more, which probably does highlight your flaws a bit more. I'm intrigued to see, not only for Liverpool, for quite a few clubs, is this will be the first summer there's no tournament for a while. So I do wonder with some of these clubs, City, Liverpool, United, basically before international players can have some well-deserved talent. I mean, they've all got these stupid bloody international camps to go on.
Are you playing in the summer series in America, whatever it's that stupid thing that it's called? Are you playing in that, or are you not?
No, I think we're in that. I think we're in the Far East again. I think. There will be a tour somewhere. I can never remember where it is, but yeah.
And I know there's about 8 teams that are in that summer series in America. I don't know if you guys are one of them, but yeah, that for you guys, especially after last season where you went the distance in every competition. Like that will drain the players, especially the way Klopp likes to play and the way that he demands that. He doesn't really play that rock and roll football anymore, or the heavy metal football that he used to play.
More possession based.
Yeah, but he still demands a lot from his players, and to go deep in every competition, it was going to hit them hard, especially with
Singapore. We're playing it. There we go. David's correcting in the chat. There we go. Singapore. That's what we're playing. Yeah. So, but also, I think Klopp admitted they got the. I think they got preseason wrong. We probably did too many games preseason in hindsight.
Yeah. Too many concessions, though. I think that was the.
Well, I don't think that's. I mean, they've been doing that for 6 years. That the triple. I think the triple session is fine. They probably didn't need as much.
Poor planning in the market, I think, has really cost us this season. I think the fact that if you believe the reports from Paul Joyce say that Klopp wants his business done before pre-season, so we're not faffing around and going, "Oh, we might need a midfielder. Let's go and get Arthur Mello, who's paid less than 20 minutes."
Yeah, but it's like anything. Klopp says that. Klopp, an old manager, says that every year. I want my business done before pre-season. Everyone wants that done. Whether you do, remains to be seen.
We'll get work to do this summer.
Yeah, John Sullivan's asking, how good could Gakpo be for Liverpool next season? Look, the early signs are
looks good. I was a bit unconvinced at first, but I think he's settled into the league. I think a pre-season and he'll be good to go. I think he'll be the starting striker or false nine, because I think Klopp is still wedded to having a false nine and two.
I think he's wedded to a false nine against your Tottenhams, your Man United, your Cities. I think against other sides, I think then it will be a Jota through the middle or a Nunez. But the benefit of Gakpo is he's just as effective wide left. The only place I've not seen him play is wide right, because I just don't know if that suits him. No. A couple of times Diaz has played a few wide right games now, so it gives us a bit of flexibility. My concern for next summer is that we concentrate getting the midfield sorted, which I understand they want to get we need 2 to 3, and we need a centre back. I think
Yeah,
we're a forward.
goalkeeper.
I think we're a forward. I think we're a forward light. If Firmino's going, you're definitely a forward light. We'll need a keeper if Kelleher decides to go. So, but do you know what I mean? What
Which
you
I
get for
think he will, I think. But for 20 million, though, no way. We should be trying to milk someone for like 25, 30. Like this,
Yeah,
like 20 million sounds cheap.
It's also
It's
also what people are willing to pay. That it's all right because I've seen a lot say we get 40 million, we get 30 million for him. Who's paying it? If no one's paying it, then you either take the 20 or you keep an unhappy player for another year.
When's AFCON? I think there's an
This
AFCON.
January. This January.
No, it's this summer, I think.
No, it's January. It's moving back.
It's usually mid-season. It is usually mid-season.
Well, we definitely need a forward then.
Let me Google it. AFCON dates.
To be fair, just while you're doing that, Chris, on that point about shipping players, we've not been able to ship anyone out because the problem is when you've got these undesirable players, and I imagine those players that you want out are on pretty hefty contracts as well. Mm-hmm. Like people just don't want them because when they're earning that money nowadays, with the way that wages work and the way that agents work, these players will just sit there on their contracts for ages. And I mean, as much as we all sit there and say, yeah, we'd want to play every week, but we've not got the privilege of being on 60, 70 grand plus a week. Like footballers have very short careers.
Leicester did outprice some of the players like Tielemans, like Maddison. I do believe that I think they did outprice them out of the moves, and now you look at Tielemans is going for free now instead of.
I think we've done the same though, haven't we? Let's be fair.
The Maddison one from Newcastle.
Probably my biggest criticism about Liverpool is that we've just gone, well, we're not going to get the money. We'd rather let you go for free, which absolutely baffles me. Why you'd let someone go for free when you could have taken a decent chunk of money last summer. Yeah, we could have taken 30 million, 35 for Tielemans.
That's what we wanted, and nobody would. But the thing is, the more stories that come out from local journalists and stuff, nobody even bid for Tielemans last summer. No. Nobody did, and that's the thing because they knew that one season later they get him for free, and they wouldn't have to pay. They'd pay the sign on fees and stuff, but they get him for free.
I don't think he'll get a top move. Like
he's not that good of a player. He's a good player. He ain't that good.
Screams of Villa. He screams of Villa.
I think he goes Newcastle. I think he goes Newcastle. I think
Tielemans and Maddison end up at Newcastle next season.
But the thing is, I've got a bit of a thing about that, and that's like, and I said this to you, and like Tielemans and Maddison are good players, very good players. But if Newcastle carry on playing the way they do this season, next season, they're not good. Like, Tielemans isn't fit. He's not. Like that's I say, he's phenomenal. He's phenomenal on the ball. Like he's one of the best players I've ever. Maybe even is the best player I've ever seen on the ball at Leicester. And like in the last 10 years, I've seen some really, really good players. I've seen Mahrez, Cambiasso. Like I've seen some incredible players. But like in terms of on the ball, there's very few players better than Tielemans. But out of possession, he might as well not be on the pitch. He can't. He's not mobile. He's not quick.
He's got the Wayne Rooney style of body, though. Just feels like that. Yeah. Like out of season, he balloons in weight. And
I think he's played a lot of football as well for his age.
Yeah,
like he's 25, though, is he?
Yeah, I mean, he's been playing top level football since he was 16, hasn't he? Like,
I think that's the problem. Maybe he's an old 25, if you know what I mean. Whereas I think players of a similar ilk to him have probably got a lot less minutes under the belts. It's kind of a catch-22 sometimes, isn't it, with players?
Yeah, I feel like I'm going to contradict myself here, but I feel like I've said Tielemans isn't that good. But out of all the big six sides, the one that he would suit the most is City because they have the ball loads.
Yeah.
So he wouldn't have to do that much out of Arsenal. Yeah, maybe. But I think at Arsenal, because they're not quite as good as City, like they have to do a little bit more out of possession. They have to work a little bit harder. City just control the ball so much. And I think Kev's just put something in the chat there. He, as a La Liga player, like Tielemans, like in a slower pace league, Tielemans would be phenomenal. But yeah, it's just we've got a lot of players, and this is what's really frustrated me this season is that everyone keeps telling us you're too good to go down. You've got X, Y, Z player,
and the attitude's not there.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, and I actually think, and I really wanted to say this because like it's something that I've been thinking the last couple of weeks, and somebody on another podcast that I listened to and went on the other day said, like, kind of alluded to this. Oh, for goodness sake. Sorry. Don't know why it keeps locking. Sorry. Is that we should be a cautionary tale for every team outside of the top 6, and not because we've just mismanaged. That we have absolutely mismanaged things the last few years. Like, I'm not,
and Southampton as well. For you and Southampton,
but like Southampton compared to us. Sorry to cut you off fairly, but Southampton compared to us have actually achieved nothing. We won the Premier League, we won the FA Cup, we won the Community Shield, we got to the quarterfinal of the Champions League, and we didn't even scratch the surface of the top 6 financially. We came 5th twice, 2 years in a row. And financially, like, one bad year, and all these teams below us caught us up, teams with more money. And it doesn't matter. And this is why, like, every other team outside of the Big 6, and maybe even Newcastle now as the Big 7, should kind of look at it and sort of be worried that one bad season can just derail everything. Like, we've done more than since we've been promoted to the Premier League, well, since we even got relegated from the Premier League. Like, Arsenal is a good example. The last time we were in the Premier League, Arsenal, the Invincibles, won the league. We got relegated. Since then, we've come back up, won the FA Cup, won the Community Shield. We're going to go down. We've almost won as much of them we have won as much of them in the league in that time. We won more than Spurs. We won more than Newcastle. We've won the Premier League and the FA Cup more recently than Man United. Yet we're in the absolute mire financially. Like, it should be a concern for everyone outside the top 6 that a team that's had so much success recently is absolutely skinned. Like, where does the money go? And is the money actually, are you actually rewarded for your performance on the pitch, or is it from everything else outside? And that's not good for football, I don't think. Like, I think, and it's easy for me to say that now we're in the shit, but I even said it when we finished 5th twice, that everyone at Leicester, especially the second time, went, that's your opportunity missed, because getting that Champions League money, just one of those seasons, we're not where we are now. I think you can go back as far as that to say that if we do it just once out of those 2, we're not where we are now. And it's why it was so important for Liverpool to get back into the top 4 when you did, because if you'd have carried on being, 6th, 7th, you might have fallen down the pecking order and ended up like a Spurs who just no sniff of winning anything. Like, have the best stadium and electric go-karting stuff underneath the stadium, and Beyonce there, like, selling out the Tottenham Hotspur stadium. But I'd rather win games of football on the pitch. And I moan a lot, and I am moaning a lot now. I've moaned a lot on our own show. I've moaned a lot to everybody I know about Leicester. But then on the flip side, I'm incredibly grateful for the last 10 years I've had watching football. I'll never take it for granted, but it's just, it's a worry that a team that's had so much success can just go down with a whimper, really. But I'd love to still be competing up there, but
I really want you to stay up. I want Leicester to stay up, Luke. And Leeds and Everton to go down.
Oh yeah, that'd be the ideal for all.
I want Everton to go down so badly. Like, last season, the dream would have been the quad and Everton to go down. Would have been.
Hey, listen, my theory's still live at the moment, so we'll wait for that theory to come live. My theory is still Everton's points deductions announced night before the Bournemouth game, so the Bournemouth game doesn't matter. That's my theory, because that would be very Premier League in what they do. If they're going to do it, they just announce it the week before.
Please.
But in terms of the AFCON, sorry, I could put in the chat. AFCON is 13th of January next year until the 11th of February. So it's pretty much that's straight after
right wing in January by the looks of it, or Oxlade-Chamberlain if he somehow signs a new deal gets.
No, well that's why I think Liverpool are probably an attacker light. So unless the goal lines up in January, but I doubt it. But listen, we've got the whole summer to worry about that. So right, let's do score predictions then. Jack, what's your score prediction?
Oh, I think you beat is easy. I'll go 4-1.
4-1. Luke, score prediction and goal scorers.
I'll be a little bit more respectful. I'll go 3-1.
That's what I had, Luke.
Oh, just a little bit. Yeah, just a
little bit. I'll go Gakpo, Salah, Van Dijk.
Okay. I'll go 2-0. Salah and Gakpo.
This one, but Doak.
Well, Doak is a right winger, so
yeah, sure, yeah, Doak, yeah.
We've got 2-1, 4-1 Liverpool. Kev Ball's gone 7-2. I'm assuming he means 7-2 Liverpool, but he could mean 7-2 Leicester. It's
a big shout. It could be the Villa. It could be a repeat of Villa, couldn't it? You know?
No, please, please not.
Avo said Trent scoring. Be nice.
I wouldn't put it back. You'll score from a set piece. I mean, like we can't defend set pieces to save our lives.
He's a goal.
Yeah, we've got better set pieces probably the last 6 games because before that we were a bit dire before that, weren't we? We'd rather just give you the goal kick because we did it away from a corner. That's just the way it went.
Oh,
cool.
Honestly.
Right. So before we go, Jack, thanks for coming on again. Where can everyone find you?
So we are back on YouTube and Spotify. So it's Talking Ballacks podcast on Twitter. The handle is there next to my name, the Ballacks Pod. So we release at the moment once a week on YouTube and Spotify. So yeah, follow us on Twitter, give us a like, share, subscribe on all our platforms. It'd be brilliant. Thank you so much for having me on again, guys. I love coming on. It's a really, really good show. And if you want me back on next week to sort of throw shade at you in Newcastle, then I'm more than happy to do it.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely, especially when you two are playing each other. That's definitely going to be going on.
We'll just chuck a bomb in there, and we'll just let you just.
Yeah. I quite like it. I quite like doing that. But also check the guy show because Kevin Sullivan's on it. Tuesday.
Yeah, this week's yeah.
This week's show. So give a laugh. We can also hit the mickey out of Kev. He's in the chat as well. Kev's gone 2-1.
We've also just started doing a new segment which got a lot of people enjoyed on Tuesday, and it's called Obscure Footballer of the Week, where we just have a random Premier League footballer and then read off some stats, and whoever guesses them first wins. So if you fancy some football trivia, football knowledge, then skip to near the end. It's about an hour. It was about an hour and a half. I should. It's about an hour and 15 in. See if you can get it before Blakey does. Blakey's the current leader. He won the inaugural one. But yeah, give it a check out. It's a good segment. People enjoyed it, so going to stick with it.
Oh, I like that. That sounds right up Gav's street. Gav's good with stuff like that. Luke, thanks for appearing.
Last minute substitute.
Well,
last minute substitute. I get the message.
Not quite Origi
saying,
taking time out of
the doing it tonight. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I get a message from Chris saying, Luke,
free tonight.
Are you available tonight? I'm thinking, yeah. I should send a subbing it. Just
taking time out from his promotion celebration. So,
well,
absolute.
So listen, if you play Wrexham or friendly though, Luke's your man. He'll say everything you need to know about Wrexham. So
I know nothing about Wrexham, apart from that I live here. That's around it.
Right. So listen. On that happy note, let's let everyone go to bed. Right. Well, listen. Thanks so much for watching. Please like, please subscribe, and we'll speak to you all very, very soon.